Since the Heroes spin-off, I think a lot of people have had speculation on Ziggy. I know I've mentioned Ziggy's like his role is very questioning on just the fact of his title, and he had to earn the title of Demon King in some negative events at some point, and now it looks like we're finding out a little bit of how he got that title. Well, maybe not why and how he got that title, but really the presence of the guy who holds that title. So the chapter starts out. I really like the opening page where it had like Connor, but it's all blurry and messed up. I wonder like how Mishima did just drew this. Like maybe he took the picture of Captain Connor and just did some photo editing or something, or if he intentionally just hand drew it like this or something. I don't think so. I think he had to do it digitally, and I think it fits better digitally too. But the whole crew, they go back to Grand Bell, and you find out stuff like we know Ziggy. Ziggy built the well, actually I don't think we straight got that he built the Shining Stars. I know that they worked for him, but I don't remember it the straight statement of them being built by him. Either way though, I like that. I enjoy that kind of that kind of bit in there when we find out from Hermit. You have members staying back. You have Sister and Witch, and they're just staying on the ship. They're just doing their thing. They're running systems checks. Everyone else goes out. I like Hermit joins in. I enjoy Hermit. I'm very curious to see how Hermit responds to events in the next one. But while they're talking and just discussing with Shiki of okay, well, what are we gonna do if they attack us? And oh, we'll just run away. Shiki is very it clearly does not want in any way to have any form of violent confrontation with these guys again. Obviously hurt him a lot the first time, and now when he's getting ready to go back, we find out a little bit from Hermit. Hermit saying that that when they looked for Mother after Ziggy built them, they went and then they returned at some point after they found Shiki, and Shiki's even well, where'd you guys find me? Hermit doesn't know. She says that the Shining Star memory files, they were of everything outside of the soccer cosmos was erased, and Ziggy did it on purpose. She doesn't know why. And then you get some little back and forth. Well, not even back and forth, really just one way. You have Wise picking on Shiki, saying oh, well, maybe maybe it's related to where you found they found you, if it's something super secret important. And he's well, I was curious, but I don't care that much. And Wise well, maybe they found you in a latrine, obviously in a toilet. And she's I really hope not. Shiki he's not responding to the same debate that I think a lot of people. I mean, it's a small little joke thing, but obviously this interaction is very, very opposite to what you'd get from Natsu and Gray. Obviously one talk shit at the other, they're gonna be going at it, but it's not that way with Shiki and Wise. It's more of a little bit of teasy, and Shiki's just man, I really hope not. That sounds awful. But I like that part. I just like that little character interaction. I thought that was neat. But then when they get back to they go into Grand Bell, the city on it, the little resort kingdom, the robots are destroyed. They haven't really changed at all. They just kind of been laying in place, gathering moss and whatnot, just kind of being broken down robots. And you see during that, while they're kind of just witnessing, well, not even witnessing, going around and just seeing these, even Michael, Shiki's just teared up a little bit. He's unhappy. He's upset that all of these robots are not doing so well. I mean, obviously they're not working anymore, so they're definitely not doing very well. But while Shiki's talking to them, and they're mentioning the virus, because that's what they were given, at least information wise, at the start, accidentally starting stuff. There we go. I actually had the Black Clover new episode up, so I was watching that, and I was which one should I do a review on first? And I'm well, the one is a anime episode, so I'll take Eden Zero precedence and then do Black Clover later. Anyway, so from that we have actually, does it even go through my, I don't even know if it's going through my it is. I was wondering if the sound is even going through my recording, but then I'm obviously the music's going, so it would have to be. But anyway, you have them discussing Rebecca's oh, was it a virus maybe or something, did that to him, but Hermit's not sensing anything with a virus. Well, not sensing, she's doing her own thing, obviously doing her scans and whatnot, but we know that it wasn't a virus. They were just kind of losing power and shutting down, and before that happened, they wanted to get Shiki off into space. We see a little hologram come out from one of the robots. It's from Ziggy, and he's giving them information. He's listen, before our time is up, we need to do something in order to get Shiki out into, out into space. I mean, I think he says skies, but obviously means space. And you just have parts like with, the old robot Night King dude is just discussing, like, yeah, we have to figure out something. We have to wait until somebody shows up. There's obviously like parts when Rebecca showed up, and they're like, okay, now's their chance. And they had to drive Shiki off in order for him to go on adventures, for him to leave the planet before they fully just kind of shut down, and he had to be there for it, which I like. I really like that they were partially the reason that isn't just like, oh yeah, we need to get Shiki out there. It's like I think they knew that they had to get him out into space and away before they shut down, because then they'd just be leaving him alone, and nobody wanted that for Shiki. That would have been very, very, heartbreaking for the guy. But after that point, like, he got into space, they started to shut down, and that's how they are now. But at this point, like, things took the turn. We have Ziggy up on his feet. I'm very curious to know what Mishima, what's his overall plan with it, because I mentioned that since Heroes, people have had theories about it, and that's because on one of the hero covers, they had the equivalent of each series' version. Like, you had Natsu, Haru, and Shiki. You had Ellie, Lucy, and Rebecca. You had Musica, Gray, and Wise, and so on and so forth. And then amongst that, you had Lucia, Zareth, and Ziggy. Now, Lucia was the main big bad guy of Ravemaster, and even though Zareth wasn't, he's not, the series is still going, and he's not the big bad guy anymore, I would still say he was the overall, at least current main bad guy. The only character I really can see just being an overall bigger story villain will be if Ankh-Saram ever shows up. But the most important villain, I'd say, in the story still, for both Ravemaster and Fairy Tail, that being Lucia and Zareth. And since then, people have speculated a lot on Ziggy, because Ziggy already had the title of Demon King. We knew that he has a story behind him, that he had to have, all this, all this space hype, that people, would call him the Demon King and saw him as a dangerous being, that we would eventually find out. It was like, well, maybe he was just kind of seen that way from different perspectives. But now we see, after he gets up, I'm wondering if it's the full version, of if this is the real him, or if he's got some other scheme going on. And he's essentially saying that, it was a mistake to raise Shiki, it was a mistake to bring him, and just humans in general were a mistake. Or not just the humans, I imagine, because, I think he says humans, but obviously I think he would include any alien races. But now he's decided he's going to pretty much bring in the age of mechanical life forms. So robots, cyborgs, I would imagine. Any form of technological, focused being. So now it's going to be their age. He brings down the Eden's 1. I really like the Eden's 1 designs. When I first read, I saw the spoilers last week for it, and it was oh, it's kind of like the Eden 0, but it's like a fish. I thought it'd be silly, but it actually looks really badass, and I like the fish that it's based off of. I think it actually looks really intimidating and has a pretty vicious presence. And you wouldn't expect that from something with kind of a bit of a round head, but it's this weird space monster. It actually a little bit reminds me of a chronophage, actually, in that shape. But now he's also trying to get Pino to come with him. I'm hoping that Pino doesn't go. I don't want her to. I mean, she's the mascot of the series. I get that, obviously they have the Happy Bot, but Happy Bot exists because Hiroshima wanted Pino to be the mascot, and didn't want to introduce her right away, and he didn't want he didn't want the series to not have a mascot character, so he had Happy Bot around. But really, his presence in the series really feels kind of like Plu was in Fairy Tail. Plu was in Fairy Tail, but Plu was just a couple times would show up and be referenced. That's kind of what Happy Bot is in a lot of ways. He doesn't have a lot of plot significance. It's mostly just the reference, because really Plu in Ravemaster was a big character. Plu in Fairy Tail was a small character, whereas Plu in Eden 0 is basically non-existent. His character, the reference exists, but he's not around as much. Whereas Happy Bot is honestly he's in there more than Plu was in Fairy Tail, but still he's not in that much. Really, what does he do outside of turn into the guns? And that's about it. But after that, we're getting into some some pretty interesting stuff with, obviously, like, we're going to be finding out more about Ziggy. I'm very curious to know what Ziggy's whole, like, reasoning is going to be when it comes to, like, why is he now turned against the humans? What, you know, is he actually serious? Is he genuine? Maybe there's something about his programming, because we don't know much about Ziggy. Let's just take in some theories. Let's just go with a theory. Let's come up with a theory off the top of my head. Maybe Ziggy was originally programmed to be like a big evil robot, like he was dangerous, like he was supposed to be programmed as some like destruction creature, like essentially like, I need this robot to go out and just cause, like, maybe it was some crazy scientist, like, I just want this robot to go out and conquer the universe. Like, maybe it's like the scientist really was like I'm an evil scientist kind of guy. I want to take over everything, but like he couldn't figure out how to live long enough in order to do that. But maybe like the solution was, I'll just create a robot and it'll be like my creation does it, so sort of I do it. And then maybe Ziggy at some point gained like a level of hold over himself and maybe like wanted to live like a better person, like learned along the way to kind of be much more civilized. And he like wanted to create Shiki in order to stop him at some point. And that's like, well, maybe like at some point I'm going to go back to my original programming, and I want to make sure Shiki's strong enough in order to stop me or something like that. I think that'd be really cool if you had like that version of him where it's like the original Ziggy is like a bad guy, but kind of like this version of him like kind of was forged throughout like his journey. And he knew at some point, like maybe it's like his system saw the better version of him as like a virus or something, and then they were gonna like run something to fix him and, you know, turn him back into the pure evil version. I don't know, because I don't want it just to be like, oh, I wanted to keep playing Shiki, unless like his whole thing is he really wanted like a rival in the stars, and this is the way he thinks he can motivate Shiki into like pushing himself to into kind of like being that full-on rival that he wants, something like that. Like maybe it's like, man, I'm so powerful and I'm so kind of like I'm so ahead of all these other like space bad guys or space adventures, whatever, if he's even actually bad. But he's like, I'm so far ahead of all these guys. What am I gonna do to actually have some competition? Maybe he wanted to create competition or something. I don't know. Either way, I'm very interested in seeing how this goes, just because I think it's a very interesting plot right now, because we haven't had like the main plot of Eden Zero. We've had like arc by arc stuff, but we haven't had like the big overall thing that we're going to be wrapping the series around. I mean it's not like we needed it right away. Like that was one of the things I know that Hiroshima was unhappy about, like when he ended Rave Master, is there wasn't like enough all around to work with if he wanted to do more, because it was mostly a encompassed story where it was one large story, like, you know, destroying the Mother Darkbring and, you know, and bringing peace, defeating, you know, destroying all the Darkbrings, obviously the Mother Darkbring and whatnot, and Endless, and saving the world. Whereas Fairy Tail had like the main, like there's a lot obviously spread out in the world, and then like a lot of the arcs were kind of almost standalone, where they had information tying to stuff with Zareth. And, you know, for the most part, you didn't even really get to like the main stuff with Zareth until 200 chapters in. I know Hiroshima says that he planned Eden Zero to be shorter than Fairy Tail. Who knows how much, and even if that's going to stick on, because Fairy Tail is only supposed to be 10 volumes initially, so maybe Eden Zero will be a lot longer than initially planned. But I like the idea if we're going to be getting like you know, Eden Zero's like overall kind of plot now, and so throughout like what we see until like this becomes the main focus, maybe we'll have arcs that relate into like Ziggy and stuff, relate to like Ziggy's influence and presence as, you know, this Demon King robot Hitler overlord. Maybe not Hitler, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, kind of is, if he's like trying to like cleanse, like he's trying to enslave humans, and I imagine any humanoid, non-robotic, and create like an age specifically for robots. I mean, it's sort of like that, but really, like when you think about it, I mean, really, it kind of is. It's kind of like how Hades was kind of like Wizard Hitler, and you know, he just wanted to create a world just for wizards, and even not all of them, kind of just like get rid of all non-wizards and then create a world where only strong wizards can survive. Kind of just like this, you know, survival of the fittest, but only if you're a wizard. If you're not a wizard, then we don't even want you to compete, kind of thing. But I'm very curious to know Pino's response, because from what we know, wasn't Pino, I had to go back and look, but isn't Pino Pino's original master was Ziggy? I'm pretty sure. Oh man, I'd have to go back and look at some stuff, but either way, I mean, I'm definitely very hyped up to figure out where this goes, just because, like I've mentioned before, like I want to know the overall plot for like Eden Zero, like what's the meat of the story going to be, and it looks like it's going to be this stuff with Ziggy and his tyrannical robot uprising. So look forward to that. I think this is going to be some pretty interesting couple chapters. Shiki's response, I think, will be probably the biggest thing to go off of, because I feel like he's going to be in denial for a while. He's probably not going to want to have to accept the fact that his grandfather is now like an enemy to him, and maybe he'll like try and look on a better side to it, and maybe like, oh, he's just playing, playing along a little bit, and then later we'll see like some of his effects, like maybe they'll be like ruined cities or something, and it's like Ziggy's flag planted in an area or so, somewhat, or something along those lines. I don't know. And then maybe he'll be like, oh shit, maybe I should take this seriously. But either way, until that point, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about like the events that obviously happened in this chapter, Eden Zero, and what you're looking forward to in the next couple chapters. Actually, one thing I'm looking forward to, obviously I want to see like character reactions and responses, but one thing I really want to see before, there's a, not resolution to this part, but like before we get to break out of this part with Granbella and Ziggy and stuff, and get to whatever the next arc is, I want to see what Ziggy is capable of. I'm like, we barely saw a little bit of his gravity in this chapter, just kind of like pressing Shiki down and messing with the terrain a little bit. I just want to see like him do like an anti-gravity area, like him just levitating all the rubble and stuff, maybe lifting all the robots around him, and maybe he'll like modify like the other robots in order to do stuff with him. Like maybe Michael could be like modified to be like a actual war robot, and instead like I don't know like how he's gonna do it. Maybe like kind of like make him like a robotic version of Michael the Archangel or something. Is he an Archangel? I don't know the lore. Either way, comment below, thumbs up the video, from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.